It's Way Up with Angela Yee. I'm Angela Yee, and of course, my Wealth Wednesday partner, Stacey Tisdale, is here.
Happy Wealth Wednesdays, everybody. And we are going to be joined today by someone who is going to teach us all how to be millionaires.
He's like, ha ha. But
you're not leaving this room until we do.
It requires work on people's part, too. It ain't going to just happen,
Exactly.
right?
Right.
Cedric Nash is here.
Very excited. Cedric has the incredible books, The Millionaire Money Moves, and Why Should White Guys Have All the Wealth, which you can get on Amazon.com. Mm-hmm. And you are just moving and shaking in terms of investing and teaching people as you always do. But
you have the Black Wealth Summit, too.
Exactly.
Black Wealth Summit. Mm-hmm. But you've really been giving me an education, and I know Angela an education on AI. So we definitely want to talk to you about that today.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. You know, even though I'm passionate about personal finance and finance because I read a lot about it, my real background is a technologist. I have a degree in computer science. So I've been writing code since, the early days. Yeah.
Well, one thing that's been, last time you were here, I was listening to our last interview, and we were all kind of celebrating the way that blacks were investing and embracing the stock market.
Yes.
And the stock market was very exciting then. It hadn't been so exciting for a while. And it's very, very exciting again, being led by an AI company, NVIDIA in particular. Talk about where our community stands now in terms of investing, because a lot of people really got scared away by that correction.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's what I love about Wealth Wednesday and what you guys are doing, because we have to keep the conversation going about building wealth in our community. We can't, building wealth is a lifelong journey.
Right.
It's not because it's exciting or the stock market went up, time to talk about it. You talk about it, it's a lifetime. And so having platforms like this, having platforms, like people even like Earn Your Leisure and folks like that are constantly bringing the conversation to the forefront, is powerful. And we have to continue to do that. With regards to AI, man, it's not coming. It's here.
Yeah, there's nothing you could do about it.
Yeah, no, it's here. It's not coming.
As much as you want,
Yeah,
it's here.
it's here.
Yeah, there's no escaping it.
And the founder of NVIDIA said something really interesting. He says, AI is not going to replace your job, but the person that learns AI will. And so, they're estimating that, Goldman Sachs said about 300 million jobs are going to be replaced by artificial intelligence. It's real. I mean, it's really, really real. Some other estimates are saying 90% of the jobs are going to be replaced by artificial intelligence. You can't really predict the actual number with certainty, but you do know that there's going to be a major shift.
I remember when they were talking about Netflix laying people off, but hiring in the Department of AI, because that's going to be really important. So that's why you do need to make sure that you know how you're going to be involved in that. It's like when people didn't believe in streaming services.
Right.
And then if you didn't play ball, eventually it's going to kind of
It's going to replace the old way of doing things.
And when Stacey brought up, being scared in the stock market, one thing that you talk about in this book is fear, and how fear is important in both business and in life.
Yes.
So can you explain how fear can actually help propel you?
I love that. And you actually read my book, when she said fear. But fear is very, very powerful. And I think it's one of the major things that has held our community back for a lot of reasons. One of the reasons is because some of us are rooted in the church, right? We're rooted. And so the church made investing in the stock market like gambling, right? And then we've heard countless and countless of stories of people who lost their fortunes, so supposedly, investing in the stock market.
Right.
But see, there's a difference between investing and trading. What you hear often on television on the Squawk Box, they're kind of talking to traders about quick moves, fast moves. Investing is that slow,
riskier
steady.
Moves.
Yeah, riskier moves, right? So the whole point is like if you looked at the stock market historically since the 1920s when it came out, we've only had one really, really bad time, and that was in the 30s when the market was down significantly for several years. But since then, we had the Great Recession, which everybody felt was horrible in 2008. It lasted 18 months.
Right. Only
Only 18 months. Only to come back from 2009 to 2022 to be the largest bull run in history, where there are 400% gains in stock values of the S&P 500 over that time frame. And the reason why I want to say that is because in 2007, a lot of our community pulled out of our 401ks. We got out because we're fearful that the financial world was going to collapse. And we didn't return until 2019, right?
Wow.
Yeah, so we got in after the market and we returned at the top of the market.
Right.
We
missed
Like,
the
people
bull
are
run.
making money. Let's go back.
Exactly.
Wrong
so
time.
then it went up a little bit, and then in 2022 we had a drop, and so now back in
panicked.
23, 24, it's moved up again. It's about the long game, and it's about and a lot of the reasons why we're acting like this or we're responding this way. It's our response to historical trauma. It's the fact that we're in the state of desperation, right? We're like, hey, I got to play catch up.
Right.
So then we go to cryptocurrency because we think that that's going to cause us to catch up. But then we get into that at the end of its life, at the height of its market, and then we lose that money, and then
it goes back up.
Yeah, so we're
some of it.
Yeah, some of it, but we're constantly playing up on the wrong side.
You know what else I noticed too? Sometimes, like with our parents and older generations, and it could happen now too. A lot of times at your job, they'll give you like stocks. And then people just let it sit. They never do anything.
Yeah.
And then sometimes that stock does like completely drop, and then it ends up being worthless. I've seen that happen to a lot of people, like in older generations, where you're given like a certain amount of stock when you've been working at a company for a period of time, but you don't do anything with it.
Right. Well, see, the name of the game is there's two strategies to mitigate fear when it comes to investing. And one is called diversification. And the whole point is you don't put all your eggs in one basket. So the whole point is you diversify across a whole host of industries, from pharmaceuticals to retail to technology to healthcare to the, you create a very diverse pool. You can also do that through investing in index funds because they're extremely diverse, and so that prevents one stock from draining the entire portfolio. The other approach is what they call dollar cost averaging, and that's where you don't get a windfall of money and just say, I'm just going to put all that into the stock market. You slowly put it in small pieces over long periods of time. And so what you're doing is you're trying to average out your investment portfolio so that you're not going all in too high, right? And causing yourself to lose in that way. But the name of the game is, if you look at the market, like I said, since 1920s to now, it's been nothing but steady gains. It's hard to find a 4 or 5 year period of time where the market has been consistently down other than in the 30s.
Its average is it's over 9%.
It's over
a year.
9% a year. So
but interestingly, when we're talking about the fear in investing, Ariel, Melody Hobson, they have a great report out about how blacks are usually the first people to panic sell in a falling market. And not only is it just a lack of traditional knowledge that we've had in stocks, but also a lot of black investors are the first person in their family to be investing. Blacks are 6 times more likely than other groups to be responsible for other family members. So it's real stuff.
Yeah, these are all contributing factors, and they're real stuff. And this is why I do what I do. And I do it mostly for free because we need mentors like I had. We need somebody that you can call, pick up the phone, talk to, have access to say, hey, I'm afraid. What should I do at this moment? And they need people that are real, people that have actually built their wealth through the stock market or through real estate and have kind of ridden out the ups and downs of the market, who can really, really advise them, not kind of the social media overnight success social media people. I'm talking about real people that build wealth over time. So, but the sad part about our community too is that there are more people out there like myself, but a lot of times they don't open themselves up and they don't share, their successes.
Very secretive around
very
money.
secretive around those kinds of things. But I'm passionate and crazy about this subject, so I love to kind of inform people about how to basically get their wealth to go up. And
that's why you have the Black Wealth Summit, which was a great tool for a lot of people to be able to come out and hear not just from you, but from other people who have been vetted out and have experience.
Exactly.
And a little off the topic, earlier I was talking about the CEO of Crunch Fitness, and he said there's no, he doesn't believe in work-life balance. Right. And clearly for you, it's taken a lot of commitment to get to where you are right now. I want to know what your thoughts are on work-life balance, because I feel like when I was coming up in this, it was very different than how people view things today when it comes to, we didn't have like a mental health day. We didn't have certain things like that I do think are beneficial. But I also feel like sometimes today it's like people are like, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that, I'm not doing this. And maybe it's, there's been so much conversation around a 4-day work week or working from home, or the pandemic did change a lot about the way that people work. But what are your thoughts on work-life balance?
Well, my thoughts are, if you're not careful, AI is going to take that job and you may not have that job anymore. So the reality is that to be successful at anything, I don't care who you are, at the highest level, it's going to take a significant amount of effort and a significant amount of work. And so the way I look at it is that, and the world's so competitive, right? The world's so competitive that you have to stay on top of your game. But you do have to be wise about it and take your moments. And what I mean by that is that you have to have your annual or every quarterly vacation.
Right.
But you have to do that. But you have to come back to work and get busy working again. I do see a lot of young people who aren't into that. And they're thinking that, and they're kind of living in kind of like, I believe, kind of like this false sense of reality because they grow into a time where a lot of things are available to them. I mean, I heard Tyler Perry speak at Emory's graduation. He talks about how back in the day we had the yellow pages, right? We had to go down the yellow pages to get something, or we had to pull out a map to get somewhere. And so young people now can just go to a phone or go to something and get directly to it. And so this sense of having to work to get to the information and get to the things that they want, they're not used to that. And it's kind of, it's a blessing and a curse at the same time.
It's interesting though. I just had to talk about this on a talk show. They were talking about the whole concept of quiet quitting and this young generation and making it look like there was something wrong in the generation. You have to step back a little bit and look at what they're looking at. Their example has been us who worked and grinded and still have financial struggles.
Yep.
They're in that sandwich of, kids having to take care of, if they want kids and having to take care of their parents.
Right.
And when you look at our outcomes and, what they're dealing with the climate and everything, they don't want, I had to point out to the host, I'm like, they don't want to be like us.
I get that they don't want to be like us. The reality is inflation is real. And the cost of, you just finished your 30-unit apartment buildings, and anybody that owns an apartment building is going to at least get 3 to 4 to 5% increases every year. And they have to because things constantly go up.
Yeah.
So young people can say, well, I don't want that life. I don't need the big house. Just give me a place in the city. I don't need a car. But if they really paid attention to what this costs, it's like, it's serious. I was invited to speak at University of Chicago, one of the top MBA schools in the country. So the black MBA students had me come out and talk. And one of the things I left them with is that young people, I tell my sons who are in their 20s, I said, my generation in our 50s and 60s, we needed 5 million minimally stacked, assuming that we don't have a pension or the whole 9 yards. Your generation is going to need 10 to 14 million.
That's
Seriously.
why they're the first generation in history. The majority does not want to have children. They don't think they can. Right. They just think it's not even within their financial reach,
Stacey,
with student loan debt, everything that they inherited.
But even without children, when you think about it, because I was explaining this to these young people, I said, okay, a lot of them are coming out of school making $200,000 a year, working at top consulting firms, right? So $200,000 a year today, assume they're 30 years old. They're going to retire by 65, which is 35 years from now. Do you know what that salary is 35 years from now? $200,000?
And what is
With
it?
2.5% inflation, it's $474,000 a year.
Sheesh.
That's the equivalent of, that's if they don't get a pay raise for 35 years. To make that equivalent at a 2.5% inflation rate over 35 years, it's $474,000 a year. Do you know, using the 4% rule, what that says? That says if you divide that by 4% or multiply it by 25%, they need $11 million to generate $200,000 in equivalent of income in 35 years. It sounds undoable
under the circumstances of the world that we live in.
It really does sound undoable. But the whole point is, and the reason why I'm so crazy passionate, not so much about financial literacy, I am passionate about wealth literacy. And the difference is, investing in assets that appreciate and generate income. And so the only way to get there is to invest.
Right.
You have to invest like there's no tomorrow. You really do. And our people as a community have to lean in, continue to have these conversations on Wealth Wednesdays and with all the social media people that are out there, and get busy investing. And I'm not talking about $100 a month. I'm talking about a significant portion of their income.
My producer Dan sent me this audio of you that I thought was you. Let's play that right now.
What's up, Wealth Warrior, and welcome. I'm so excited to have you here for our course, Defining and Understanding Wealth. The goal of this course is simple: to teach wealth warriors like you how to build and measure wealth on your own. We're going to talk about what wealth is, how it works, the various levels of wealth you can strive to attain, and most importantly, how to determine and grow your own net worth. Now, let me introduce myself. My name is Cedric Nash, and I'm a wealth mentor. But let me tell you why you should trust me. I became a millionaire by the age of 32, and since then, my passion has been helping others achieve financial freedom. I've spent years learning, investing, and building businesses. I've seen firsthand the power of understanding and leveraging wealth. I founded Oakland Consulting, a successful IT consulting firm, and I'm deeply involved in financial education. My mission is to turn everyday earners into wealth warriors, equipping you with the knowledge and tools to navigate the financial landscape with confidence and purpose. By the end of this course, I want you to know how to grow your own net worth and achieve a level of wealth greater than it was at the beginning of the year. That's really the objective. We're all winners if you grow your net worth. The name of the game is to get your wealth going in the right direction. Wealth is so important, and understanding it can truly change your life. You see, we're not just talking about money here. We're talking about financial freedom, the ability to live life on your own terms. It's about making smart decisions that put you on a path to prosperity. I'm thrilled to be on this journey with you. Let's get started and make this year the one where you take control of your financial future. Remember, every step you take is a step toward greater financial freedom and security. So welcome once again, and let's build that wealth together.
So that is you, right?
No, it's not
Cedric,
me at all.
Okay.
No, it's not me at all. That's
sounds-
all 100% artificial intelligence.
My goodness.
It's amazing.
When I tell you, I heard that and I was like, hello, radio. I mean, gotta, do some things.
It's crazy.
So
it's a
explain
tool.
this to me.
There's 3 tools that we use. One is called HeyGen, is the voice mimicker. So what happens is to create my HeyGen voice, I just had to speak just like I'm speaking to you. Mm-hmm. And so for about 4 2-minute sessions, I just talked about things that I just talked the way that I talk. And then there's a video portion of it that's done by 11 Labs. So I could sit there and stand up and change outfits. I could move my hands and talk the way I talk, and it will create an avatar of the way that I speak. And then you add that with ChatGPT.
Oh my goodness.
Which will then create a script. It will create a script based on whatever you want to talk about, whatever you can use.
That is wild.
You can search. And then all of a sudden you pile all that together, and the next thing you know, you're in front of a camera.
I was thinking when I realized that one of my friends had reached out to me, he thought that like Fat Joe had hit him up and was trying to like do a record deal with him.
That's the bad part.
And it was a video where it looked like he was really like sent him a video talking.
Wow.
That's the bad part.
And I hit him back. I didn't know all the, but I was like, that's not him.
Right.
Right. Because he
You
sent
could
it
tell?
to me. I just knew it's also.
But you knew he wouldn't do that.
He wouldn't do that.
I knew he wouldn't do that. And shout out to my guy. He's, not from this country. So he was very, excited about it. Like, yo, Fat Joe reached out to me. And when he sent it to me, I was like, sir, like, I could tell.
Right.
But I felt bad. But things like that happen. I saw J-Lo while she was promoting the movie Atlas that she has out now. She was talking about how there's all these ads that has her with all these wrinkles. Like, she uses these skincare products to get rid of them. But it's like AI generated pictures of her with all these wrinkles.
Yeah.
That's
Scarlett
like I said,
Johansson.
There's the good, the bad, and the ugly with artificial intelligence. The counterpoint is like, cybersecurity is growing like you wouldn't believe, and
that'd
the
be
need
a great
for cybersecurity.
space to get into. Right?
Well, no, it's huge. It's
Yeah.
huge. And what's interesting is that cybersecurity is going to have to use artificial intelligence to thwart
Artificial
intelligence. And you have all these people outside the country that are going to be taking these concepts and taking people's image and using it to kind of get money from people.
Yeah, those scams. That's going to be absolutely. Yeah.
But how does AI change the way people should be thinking about their careers?
Well, I think significantly. I think that you have to look at your job and say, can AI do my job? I mean, we talk about financial analysts, right? Mm-hmm. That's the scary one. Imagine if you told AI, I want you to go out and I want you to look at the healthcare industry, retail industry, tech industry, and I want you to look at pharmaceuticals. I want you to find me a portfolio that has a history over the past 10 years of generating a 10% return, and I want you to give me the stocks that represent that. Can you imagine? Because it's all data that's out there, it can do it a whole lot better than a financial advisor can. Right? So there's a lot of jobs that are going to be impacted, which is scary.
Like even in real estate, when you think about as far as like making sure that you can find out what the comparative market analysis is for properties or just things like that.
You can just ask ChatGPT.
Yeah, you can do that and it can compile all of that for you and be a lot more accurate.
It's scary for the real estate industry. The reason why is, and I had a cousin that was in the mortgage industry, it's like they've already automated mortgages now, right? So you can go get a mortgage without necessarily dealing with the mortgage broker. The other piece is you may not even need a real estate broker because people can advertise their own property and you can walk around with a pair of glasses and people can see exactly what you see without seeing the property. You can narrow it down and go to that property.
Though, as a person who does real estate,
yeah,
who has her license now, but I'll say a couple of things about that though. One, I think it is going to make things more efficient for brokers, but I think it's hard to replace brokers. I just think about when there's multiple offers on a property, sometimes that human touch of like having somebody that can have that conversation for you, because people do sometimes care who's buying their property.
The broker makes all the difference. It's the relationship and the hand-holding.
You just have to understand that 6%.
Yeah.
That 6% is significant on a $1 million house or on a $300,000 house. And what I fear is that it's going to get to the point where people are going to be more consumer to seller. Right. And then they just need a closing attorney to make sure the paperwork is straight. Because when it's competitive, though,
it's really hard to, go through. Because I remember during the pandemic how hard it was because people weren't doing showings at all. And so by the time, and right now the way the real estate market is, when mortgage rates drop and when people are putting their homes back on the market, it's going to be like, everybody trying to get in there. So I do feel like the efficiency is going to be...
The scary part is prices could go up when that happens.
Yeah.
Prices could go up even more.
Mm-hmm.
So what does a person do who's sitting there saying, okay, I don't want my job replaced by AI. How do I get the training? I just have this job. Okay, how do I upskill myself?
What happens, AI is really nothing without people and without data. So the reality is there are different people that have different parts of their jobs. They may work in reporting. They may work in analytics. They may work in healthcare. Mm-hmm. Their knowledge is very helpful to massaging and cleaning up the data to make sure the data is useful. So there are AI teams that are being formed in their corporations right now.
Right.
And the name of the game is to find out where those teams are and try to find a way to get on those teams. My background was I was in IT consulting. And so often, I started right over here at Secaucus putting in a system for Panasonic. Mm-hmm. But so often you didn't see people of color on those teams.
Right.
And the people on those teams, once they were finished, their jobs, their salary got jumped up by over 20 to 50%.
Sheesh.
And if it didn't, a competitor was willing to hire them over to help them implement it within their organization. So there's huge opportunities to be a part of the change by joining these AI teams, getting additional training in artificial intelligence.
Ask your company, so be proactive within your company.
Yeah, be proactive within your company, saying, hey, I want to be on the AI team that helps implement artificial intelligence. The federal government, it's going to create a huge amount of consulting dollars because the federal government's looking at it even as we speak. Because what happens is companies have loads of information that's sitting around the corporation, and they don't know what to do with it.
Right.
For example, how many printers do I have? Right? How many versions of software do I have? There's all this data, and they're spending extra money. It's going to make things a lot more efficient. But they need people who have organic knowledge and the ability to join those teams, to be a part of those teams. It's going to have a significant impact on their not only on their salary, but also in their careers, because now they're on the forefront of the change.
You also have this book in front of you that you were talking about, ChatGPT Made Easy.
Yes.
So talk to us about this, because it feels like this could be it's a beginner's guide.
It is a beginner's guide, and she gives this out for free. This is my friend Alicia Little, who is she calls herself the queen. Everybody calls herself the queen of AI, but she goes around and she has a certification class, and she's teaching people how to use these tools. In fact, I hired her firm to help put my book together, and we're putting this whole thing together. I still have to do some work to massage the script for the most part, but AI is creating the script. And then she has a content creator that's making their adjustments, and I make my final adjustments. So she loves teaching people about artificial intelligence. She just came back from South Africa, just landed today, doing the same thing. So if anybody's looking to learn more about AI, she's definitely a resource. There's other resources that are out there. You just want to make sure you're getting the content from somebody who's truly got the experience of actually doing it. She's even writing books using artificial intelligence, which is crazy.
That is wild.
Right. She sat there. We were in a training session, and she wrote a rap on wealth creation.
Oh my gosh.
With a paragraph. And AI created this rap song with words, and then she could make adjustments to it to make it more street or whatever.
They're going to have some rap battles using ChatGPT.
Oh, it's gonna be
Can
crazy.
you imagine? Like, I'll go right back in the studio right after you drop your disc record and get mine ready with the most scathing things I could say about you.
Say the meanest things possible. to this lyric now.
Because people are concerned about ghostwriters and who's helping you write your lyrics. This is about to be a whole next level. And what was interesting is that even during the course of this latest battle that we saw, people were like, is this real or is this AI? And that was the conversation that was being had as record labels have been having these AI artists that are signed to them and people writing. And it really was like, I can't tell if this is real or not.
Yes. I mean, it is real.
It's scary, though.
It's a real thing. And then, for example, of the rappers that were in the battle, it could mimic their voice and their style.
Absolutely.
Like you wouldn't believe.
We had to wait for people to post that the link to their rap song for us to know that it wasn't something that was fake that was being circulated. That's how you know it's real. And
it's scary times. It really is scary times with it. I mean, so from a business person trying to do things, it could be a very valuable tool. But at the same time, for consumers, it could be a serious threat.
And for artists, too.
Yeah, and for artists.
For news, everything.
Yes.
It's really,
I wonder how they'll end up having to regulate this because that's part of what that SAG after strike was about, too.
They're trying to do it. The scary part is they've been trying to regulate technology for the longest. They call them into, Congress calls them in for all these different hearings and not much really changes, right? So the technology companies still kind of to a certain extent, kind of do what they want to do, and they're so powerful and they have so much capital behind them that the little fines that they get are kind of nothing.
Right.
So it's just unfortunate the world that we live in, and I think that we've got to kind of go back to kind of old school, so to speak. What I mean by is pick up the phone and talk to people.
Right.
Don't just Cash App them or Zelle them money. Make sure that you know that you are talking to a real person or a right person, right? And slow things down.
I watched one of the founders of, not sure if it was ChatGPT, of a big AI company being interviewed. And I think it was on 60 Minutes. And they showed him a simulation of like a bomb going off or something and the scare that could create.
Yes.
And this founder was saying ultimately he thinks it's going to make people more skeptical and better consumers because they're going to question everything they see first versus believing everything. It's what they're going to see first and really cause that big change in mindset for us.
I agree with you. It's funny because I've had, even banks these days, banks only protect you to a certain extent when your money gets stolen and for a certain period of time, right? Sometimes you have 60 days to report some type of a crime or else they're not going to pay you back. So I think that the crime is going to continue and it's going to put consumers potentially at risk. I think the only thing you could do is you could slow things down. It's like, I'm kind of old school, and for the longest, I would write and sign every check out of my business. Now I have my CFO that does it, but it's still kind of scary.
It is.
You got people making decisions. And,
right.
Yeah, it's
the control of it,
So you got to have auditors to you got to pay other people to kind of go and audit what they're doing. Yeah, it's really scary times, but the reality is we can't stop the train from moving. All we can do is find a way to get onto the train and kind of benefit from it. And also make sure you're investing in these incredible
That's where I want to go. One thing I've heard both of you say and we've all said is invest in things you use.
Right. Yes.
You hear us having a whole conversation about AI. I'm like the happiest investor on the planet right now because I bought NVIDIA a long time ago. Talk to us about that with your Acorns, with your Robinhoods, with all your micro stocks.
I think there's loads of like NVIDIA. For people who don't really understand what NVIDIA is, they're actually a chip manufacturer, and what happens is they create this thing called a GPU, which kind of sounds like a CPU, which is Central Processing Unit, but it's a graphical processing unit that makes AI happen, right? It makes
they're like an Intel,
right? It's like an Intel, but it facilitates AI and allows a lot of the AI things to happen. It's interesting because I got involved in programming back when I started college, way back in the '80s, but AI has been out since the '60s. The first language was a language called Lisp. They don't have
movies and everything about it.
No,
if
seriously.
You think about it,
The first generative AI language was Lisp, and we programmed it in college, but it came out in the '60s, and I programmed it in the 80s, but at the same time, we didn't have as much data. We didn't have the ability to process data. We didn't have enough in-memory processing to process it so quickly. So now we're at a time where all this has kind of come together and the data's there. So there's lots of companies that you can, like I said, don't get mad at them, just get rich with them. So obviously NVIDIA, it's going to continue to grow, I believe. Also, advanced AMD, right? AMD's cheaper, but they have a formidable chip as well that competes, but also the standard companies, the FANGs, like the Metas, the Amazons, the Googles, the Microsofts.
Apple's
all those companies are going to integrate artificial intelligence in their company. And you say, well, what does that mean? Well, what that means is they're probably going to have less programmers, and they're going to have lower costs, which means they're going to make more profit as a company. So as an investor, you benefit when the company is more profitable. And when I look at those companies, when I look at companies like Microsoft, Apple, these are companies you can't live without.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
like, seriously, like if you lost your job, are you going to stop paying for your Office 360 so you can't get a resume out?
No.
Right? Are you going to stop paying for your phone bill? You're not. You're going to find a way to pay these guys. They're so critical. So I think they're quality stocks that they have an incredible offense, and now their defense is going to get better. What I mean by defense, their ability to do it cheaper because they have artificial intelligence to leverage. There's also Palo Alto Networks. These are companies that are involved in the cyber side because it's kind of like it's an inverse thing, right?
Yeah.
You've got AI on one side, but at the same time, it's creating opportunities it's going to create a higher demand for more cybersecurity.
Right.
We do not stock pick for people, but honestly, Google, do just a little bit of research on AI, what's new. You do not have to be rich to invest with all these micro investing apps, and it's just a good thing.
Aside from all of this, as we're talking about investing, right, some things I've heard aren't great investments, and you have a boat.
Oh, yeah. They're the worst. It's the worst.
And so I want to discuss that because I've always heard that, everybody wants to have a boat, but they always say it's not a great investment, the cost of cleaning, maintaining. And so talk to me about, because everything is not going to be, something that is there just to make you money. So can you talk about the mindset?
I would love to do that, but I have to at least say that I had the pleasure of having Angela E on ecstasy. Not the drug, but my boat.
Yeah. Whoa, I was like,
my boat's had ecstasy. So yeah, we had a great time. I'm invited her to come back down and hang out, and have yet to get Stacy out there. But the boat,
she's already like,
But a boat is pretty much one of the worst investments you can make, and I'll tell you why. Is because they're very expensive, number one, and they go down in value, and at the same time they cost you money.
Right.
And they can't go up in value for the most part. Although there was a period of time during COVID that people were paying crazy money for boats.
Because people wanted to do something.
They want to do something, right? So they're the worst investments. But there's some opportunities in owning a boat, a yacht, especially if you create a charter company. Because with the charter company, you get to take advantage of the IRS code 179. So it's considered an equipment purchase. And if you open up an LLC, for example, I bought my boat, but my first year, I got $1 million tax deduction.
Ooh.
You get what I'm saying?
Okay.
So
I can use that.
I got $1 million tax deduction. So that meant that I didn't have to pay $1 million, a certain $1 million in taxes. So, and then every year I can write off all the expenses for my charter and my boat. So there's some opportunities. But I talk about making millionaire money moves. The whole point is that you balance that pleasure with some other kind of investments, and that's how you make it work. If you look at the boatyard, most of those boats are owned by business owners because they can find, nifty ways to kind of play the tax game, to have this toy and enjoy this toy, but at the same time not have to pay the full.
Right. We did an interview on Ecstasy, the boat. And so I have to say that had to be like work. So as a work expense.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's a work expense.
Well, let's do some more work.
It's your studio.
Exactly. Let's do.
It's your studio.
Yeah, you got to help me get some more people.
We'll do some work
on my little show, Wealth on the Waters. We got all these people,
Wealth
Angela,
Wednesdays on location.
Exactly.
Well, listen, I love it.
When people hear you, it's like, how does this guy have it all together? But you went from making just $36,000 a year, not just, that's average, but making $36,000 a year out of college, to making millions, scaling your business with no outside investments. You didn't have rich parents. You didn't have a rich uncle. How did you turn this all around?
Well, I wrote about it in my book, but I did it starting with a paycheck. And what I basically did is I saved. I basically lived below my means. That's something that people just can't get their arms around. Oh, it's too slow. Yeah, it's slow. It did take me a while to get there. It took me 7 years to get to Destination Millionaire. But I literally lived on a crazy budget. I mised myself and saved as much money as possible and kept investing in real estate. And then eventually I started a business. Starting the business was very helpful because I was able to make significant profit because I had a tech business. And I continued to invest those profits because I didn't know if my business was going to survive. I thought maybe I had about a 7-year window before the competition kind of annihilated my little business. Well, 26 years later, I'm still making money off the same technology, right? So it kind of worked. But the whole point is that you've got to, I talk about my investment ladder. It's like I can't stress how important it is to invest. And I also can't stress, and I don't want to make it sound rosy, that there are dark days during your investment days.
Right.
Like I got a property in Jersey City that I paid $360,000 for, Angela. It's worth $2 million right now. And it's still that same funky little building. But it's paid for because I had a 20-year mortgage and it's completely paid for. But I will tell you, there was a day when I wish I could have given that thing away.
Really?
When I had no tenants. It was cold as I don't know what. And they moved my last Section 8 tenant out because I had a flood in the basement and I couldn't get the heater on. And they kicked him out. I had no one in the building, and I had to spend more money in that building to get my heaters replaced, to get the hot water heaters replaced, and eventually gets tenants in there.
Right.
Now, people want to live in Jersey City so bad that I
lived in Jersey City for a little while.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I was like, I wish people would move away because I just increase rent. But the whole point is the point is that that's the journey. And that's the journey I talk about in the book. That's the part that people don't like. But it's real. You know it. You've experienced it. It's part of the process. You've got to fight through it.
And you also talk about your grandmother in the book.
Exactly.
And the investment that she made.
Yes.
You know, can
in the
you
Bronx.
talk about
that?
Yeah.
I own my grandmother's house up in the Bronx, up in the Laconia section of the Bronx, like two blocks away from the projects. And my grandmother came to New York when she was just a young lady, left my mother in Virginia. She came here to get resettled and bought a house for $25,000. She worked at a cleaner's making $200 a month, and she just saved her money. So by the time she made $200 a month working at a cleaner's.
Wild.
Yes,
she was
yeah. So, and then by the time she died, she had $43,000 saved up and her house completely paid for.
That is such
completely paid for.
Let me tell you something. That is a blessing.
It is.
And then to be able to also pass that down.
Yeah. So what happened was then she married my grandfather, who was from Jamaica, and he had a business here in New York where he was doing a lot of road work, repairing roads and stuff. But by the time he got sick, he took a reverse mortgage out of the house. And so by the time he was about to die, I kind of took over and cared for him. So he left everything in my name. By the time I took over the house, we owed Wells Fargo Bank $400,000. But with the reverse mortgage, which is a real thing for our community, they allow the family to buy the house at 95% of its value. Okay. So at the time, the house appraised at like about $280,000, and I was able to buy the house at $280,000, and I did, and I kept it. Now the house is worth close to $800,000.
See?
You get what I mean? So we can't sell grandmama's house. Got to hold on to grandmama's house.
Oh, so many different lessons. I definitely encourage people to read this book. I love it. Why Should White Guys Have All the Wealth? And a great title, too.
Thank you. Yep.
But again, thank you so much. And Cedric, I want you to be more of a regular up here.
I would love to.
He's going to do lip service and talk about relationships
and
finances.
Do that.
Because he was married. We ain't getting into that.
Yeah. I was married. Yeah.
Got to put that. Is that a good investment or?
It depends. If you guys are equally financially yoked, the
all right, we'll talk about it later.
That's a whole lip service
That's a whole other thing.
Other thing.
All right. Well, again, thank you so much. And is there anything you want to make sure people know about? Because I know you have a course.
Yeah. The course is coming out. Hope to finish at the end of the year. It's a very comprehensive course with exercises and quizzes. And it really focuses on the foundation of knowing what your wealth level is and getting it to grow. A lot of people want it to grow, but most of the books and the conversations out there are around bits and pieces and not putting the whole program together. So I put the whole program together to get your wealth to go up.
Okay, we love it.
Yes.
Thank you, Cedric.
Thank you.
Consume, invest, give.
That's it.
Giving is important too, but you can't give if you don't invest and save and have. Yeah.
Right.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. It's a Wealth Wednesday.
Thank you.
Way up.